I'm Linda Jones, a Des Moines County Master Gardener. This is my husband Tom, who does most of the work around here. Today we're going to show you how we extend the growing season, which is both a low-tech and low-cost method, and we start with the raised bed.
We built the raised bed several years ago, 4 years ago, I think, 5 years ago, and decided to add the hoops over the top when it was starting to get cold that first year. So we put the hoops on. What we did is we used conduit, 1/2 inch conduit for the hoops and 3/4 inch conduit for the centerpiece. Cut it to 7 feet long and just bent it around, clamps against the wood on the side. Just made the hoop, and then we clamped the center post up here with some strap ties, and then later added the metal clamps so that it could handle the wind. The plastic that we use on the greenhouse is 6mm plastic, and it is special that it is UV stable, ultraviolet stable, and that way it will not deteriorate when the sun passes through it. This plastic is the original plastic, so it's been on the hoops every spring and every fall for 5 years now.
We have a very high-tech method of holding it down. It's called bricks. You can leave the ends open that way. You can have it partially open when you want to harvest or plant. It works, and it's extremely simple. This year on March 9th, we planted spinach, radishes, and a variety of lettuces. And the larger spinach back there was wintered over from last year. This had no plastic on it over the winter, but as soon as we put the plastic on it in March, the old plants started to grow out. So that's what we've been harvesting so far. And we are about ready to harvest radishes, which is one of my favorites. And they just do beautifully in here. We always have way too many. We like to give things away. And so what I did this year, this was the original planting, then 2 weeks later is a short one down there, and then just this morning I planted the middle section. So we should have a whole lot of radishes. I want to show you what's in there and tell you that it does not have to cost a whole lot of money. Radishes, 4 for $1. Spinach, 4 for $1. The lettuce in this edge, that's going to be a head lettuce, 4 for $1. And then I really splurged on the Livingston seeds, $2. And there's so many seeds in this packet that I sowed spring. I'll use the same thing to sow for fall, and probably have enough left over for next year. So it doesn't have to cost you a whole lot of money. This is how we do it in the spring, because these are the vegetables that we like. And Tom's going to tell you then how we help keep them going.
Then as it gets warmer out, and it's too warm for the lettuce and the radishes, we use a shade cloth. And the plastic comes off, and the shade cloth goes over the top, and it protects the young plants from getting too much sun, and keeps them cooler during the warm days in May and June. And that extends our growing season for cold weather crops. Then in the fall, we come back and put the shade cloth on when we sow for the fall, and gives us that. Shade cloth comes off, the plastic goes back on for the winter.
This is 50% shade. They come in
40, 50, 60, and 70%. We used 50%.
just kind of an average.
Where do you get that?
We bought it online. You can buy it online. Many retailers sell it.
The nice thing about the shade cloth is that the rain will get through it. With the plastic on it, of course, we have to water it. And sometimes I just give it a sprinkling, and we also have some irrigation tubes in there, because if you know anything about a raised bed, they do tend to dry out a lot quicker than something that would be in the ground. But with all my artificial joints, it's much easier to harvest because of the raised bed. Most of the years we harvest about 8 months out of the year, and I have some pictures of us harvesting in December, and the whole background, it's facing this way, is white, and yes, it's snow on the ground. And so I came out and I cleaned her out. We found that if we will clean out the bed at the end of the fall season, it makes the March planting much quicker, because then all we have to do is even out the soil, maybe add a few bags if it is sunk down a little bit, and then we're ready to plant. Because in March, you're so anxious to get outside and get things planted. I think that's about it. I hope we've given you some ideas and something that you can use at your house. Oh, I did forget to tell you a real simple way that we extend the season for the tomatoes. And when it's really too cold and too windy to plant your tomatoes, we put these clay tile on them that we kind of scabbed from the farm, and they're kind of hard to get nowadays, but you'll drive by, you might see people with milk jugs on top of their tomatoes or peppers, and that'll protect them from the wind and the cold nights and give you a little bit of an edge. Some people use clay pots, but you have to take them off during the heat of the day. So there's all kinds of little tricks you can do that don't cost a whole lot of money, that will give you some delicious vegetables. So we hope this will give you something to use. Thank you.